Hey everyone, welcome back to the Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Debaun, and today we are getting into a topic that has been highly requested by many of you on my social media and in my newsletter, which is how do you make money as a speaker? Like many of you, I love diversifying my income, and part of that is by leveraging the skill set that I already have. And so being a professional speaker is one of the ways that you can do that. So in today's episode, we're going to walk through exactly how you should be thinking about leveraging your skills and how to attract more dollars in your pockets as a professional speaker. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Morgan Debaun, a passionate entrepreneur and life advisor. With the Journey podcast, you'll discover that success isn't about the destination, it's about the journey. I'm sharing stories of amazing people who've taken control of their lives. Join me on my own journey to discover the secret sauce behind reaching success with permission from no one else. First things first, let's just talk about why someone will pay you potentially to speak. There are 4 different ways that you can make money as a speaker. These are the 4 categories that I see the most and also have the biggest opportunity for you to make money. So, 1 is a panel, 2nd is a keynote, 3rd is a workshop, and 4th is as a fireside chat. So, let's start with a keynote. Keynote is one of the most difficult things to do. Typically, a keynote, you have memorized a presentation, and it's just you on stage holding the audience, and you are either walking across the stage or you might be at a podium. What I find the most challenging about keynotes is that you really need to know how to command a room. You have to have incredible charisma, you have to have incredible stage presence, and you also need to have typically some sort of materials behind you running to also keep the audience engaged. Now, a keynote is also the thing that demands the highest price point for people who are, just call it your normal speakers. And that's because you're doing the most work. The great thing about keynotes, conversely, is that oftentimes people who do keynoting, they only have 3 to 5 presentations, and they run those 3 to 5 presentations over and over and over and over again. So they have basically designed a system where you would create your slides, you create your presentation, and then you have little moments that you are memorizing. You're basically doing storytelling. And so you're not interrupted by random questions. You're not interrupted by people in the audience. You are telling a story that you have mostly memorized and you are performing. A keynoter is a performer. Best keynotes to ever look at are TED Talks. If you want to learn and see what it is to be an incredible keynote speaker, look at the most popular TED Talks. Look at their gestures. Look at the cadence in which they are speaking, their body language, what they're wearing. Is their hair up? Is their hair down? Are they wearing glasses? How are they introducing themselves? It is an entire art of keynoting and an incredible profession to undertake. And it is, in fact, like I said, a skill, which is something that I really want you to keep in mind as we go through these different categories of speaking. The next level down of a category of speaking that you can make the most money from is a workshop. A workshop is more interactive in nature, but still kind of a version of a keynote because you typically have a presentation. It's typically just you on stage and you're guiding people through material and you're having a conversation with them about that material. The difference with a workshop is that the balance of audience feedback has shifted more towards the audience actually being an active participant in what you're talking about. Depending on what your skill set is or what your topic of conversation is, this can be a great way to make money because you're teaching, you're lecturing, and you're also getting community and audience feedback in real time, which for someone who maybe doesn't want to be a professional keynoter, this is an easier entry point. Now, a workshop is something to consider also if you have a train of thought, a methodology, or you're teaching something that has a clear takeaway. When someone enters a workshop relationship with you or they want to hire you to teach something, there is an expected outcome from that conversation. There's an expected takeaway. There's an expected tangible value coming out of that workshop. However, if you're doing a keynote, sometimes the takeaway is just inspiration and vibes. It's not necessarily someone learned how to do something and there's a value attributed to that learning. So if you have a skill set that you know there's a value attribution to it, consider a workshop as a format that is something to go to market with. The next category of monetization for speaking is a fireside chat. Now, fireside chats are typically for people who are domain experts or highly influential, like a celebrity performer or someone who is really good at something else and somehow is also a speaker. They're doing fireside chats. The reason why they're able to do a fireside chat is because they can just be who they are and have somebody else do the heavy lifting of asking them questions. There's not much prep that goes into a fireside chat if you're good at your job. So for me, I'm always like, sign me up for the fireside chat because your girl has a lot going on at work and I do not have time to build out this presentation, review these slides with you guys, memorize all this stuff. My day job is to be the CEO of Blavity Inc. And so I primarily spend my brain power on Blavity Inc., which means that if I'm doing a speaking engagement, it needs to be something that I can talk about ad nauseum naturally without any prep. So if someone wants to ask me questions about how to raise money, I can talk about that. If someone wants to ask me questions about what it's like to advocate for small business owners and the issues in this country that small businesses need to have changed in order for us to grow and scale better as people who drive the economy, I can talk about that. If people want to talk about how to manage your financials and grow your team, I could talk about that, but that might be better as a workshop. That's a little bit hard to do as a fireside chat. So typically fireside chats are more broad in nature. The expectation of a tangible value exchange is lower than a workshop, but there is still oftentimes like a inspiration or a theme that we're going for. So when I work with companies and I say, okay, let's do a fireside chat, one of my questions is, how do you want people to feel after this talk? When people are debriefing this conversation that they just witnessed, what do you want them to point to during that conversation that will help move your business forward? We'll come back to value extraction in a second. Let's move on to the last thing, which is a panel. Panel is the thing that will pay you the least because the attention is spread across multiple people. And also the value and information, of course, is then spread through multiple people. So starting as a panelist is a good way to get started. But if you want to have a large revenue stream as a speaker, forever doing panels will not get you to where you want to go. So panel to me is just an entry point, and it's a great way to practice your talking points. It's a great way to practice what you are saying and how you are saying things and watching how it resonates with the audience and the people that you're speaking with. If you get a lot of and you get a lot of head nods or hand raises or people following up with you after, or a lot of tweets or a lot of people tagging you on that thing on Instagram, then great. Make a little list of things that are resonating with people so that you can leverage that in your next talk. Panels are a great entry point, but if you stop at panels, you will not make any money. Okay. So those are the 4 categories that you see the most. There's another category, which is a hybrid, and I don't recommend it for most of you, which is to be the moderator for these conversations or the host. That is a strong personality driven specialty. So I don't recommend that unless you want to be a professional influencer, a professional host, and you want to train in that skill set. It's slight reporter, slight journalist, slight entertainer. So we're going to leave that out for the sake of conversation. So how do you make money? How do you have something that people are willing to give you money to talk about? What you have to think about is value exchange. How is the information that you are putting into this person's world or into this organization something that is going to make them more money or save them money? Because at the end of the day, this is a transaction. You are transacting your time and your expertise in exchange for something for them. So let me give you some examples of value exchange that could work for you. Let's start with the thing that most of you probably don't have, which is a huge audience. So one way that you can make money is because you sell tickets. For example, Tabitha Brown. Tabitha Brown is one of the most loved women in this country by all generations and all races. If Tabitha Brown comes to that conference and they advertise Tabitha Brown to come to that conference, they will move tickets. I don't care what city you're in. So Tabitha Brown can charge people more because of that. And she deserves every single penny. Conversely, let's say you're an elected official. So you have a huge platform and you're a congressperson. Well, if you're not in your home state, people aren't going to necessarily care about you unless you are AOC, right? You are a personality or a brand. So just because you have a huge following doesn't necessarily equal ability to drive transactions for that company or that organization that's hiring you to speak. So that's one of the harder things to build. And typically, if you're in that category, you're already doing well because you know how to drive audience and consumers and conversions. But if you're going for a North Star, I'm always going to give you the North Star, and that is absolutely it. The next level down is you are so unique. You are a one of one, and whatever you are unique in is also trending at the time. So right now, the Olympics are going on. Whenever this episode comes out, the Olympics may have been over by then. But right after the Olympics, all of those gold medalists, their stock just went up. People will hire them to come and speak. Now, the smart ones are going to not just speak about the Olympic experience that they just had. They're going to speak about, as a new mom, let me tell you, life has been so busy lately between working, taking care of a 9-month-old who's starting solids, and trying to stay on top of everything else. Sitting down to eat a nutritious meal myself can feel out of reach. That's why I'm so grateful for HelloFresh. HelloFresh delivers fresh ingredients and easy, delicious recipes right to your doorstep every single week. For me and my partner, it's an absolute lifesaver. While we're focused on getting our new baby to eat solids for the first time, plus still have all of his milk intake, HelloFresh makes sure that we actually get to eat too. Their new Build a Plate meals are perfect because we can customize our plates just the way we like them. No extra cooking, just one meal with something for everybody. So if you're ready to simplify your mealtime routine and make sure everyone in the family is eating well, here's something special for you. For a limited time, kids eat free. Go to HelloFresh.com/JourneyKids to unlock this exclusive offer. That's one free kids meal per box for 2 months while your subscription is active. Again, that's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/JourneyKids. HelloFresh makes sure that even in the chaos of life, you can still enjoy a great meal. That's why they're America's #1 meal kit. If you're anything like me, you didn't start a business to spend the bulk of your time managing your finances. Between budgeting, tracking expenses, and staying organized for tax time, there goes a good chunk of your day. Get back to doing what you love and let Found do the rest. I've always wondered why there wasn't a baking tool designed specifically for us, small business owners who need something simple, cost-effective, and tailored to our needs. I used to waste money and time every single month juggling multiple apps and complicated accounts. And now Found has a solution for all of that. Found is an all-in-one business banking solution designed for small businesses and solopreneurs. Seriously, it's an absolute game changer. With Found, you can manage your money, track your spending, send invoices, pay contractors, and even handle your own taxes all in one app. No more jumping around between 5 different tools just to keep your business running. And I'm not the only one who's loving Found. Just listen to what one of their users had to say. Found has made managing my small business finances so much easier. I used to dread tax season, but now it's a breeze with all of the tools that Found provides. If you're ready to simplify your business finances and get back to doing what you love, check out Found. Over 500,000 small business owners have already made that switch. Try Found for free at found.com/journey. Sign up for Found for free today at found.com/journey. How to have a high-performing team, how to work with coaches, how to maximize your energy, how to maximize your focus. They're going to talk about skills that are transferable to every single person in an audience, but leverage the moment and the trend of the Olympics and the eyeballs that they have in that moment to then drive a new revenue stream for them as public speakers. Okay. So that's something that you can do. If you're in a trendy category right now, so let me give you some. AI is trending. So if you're an expert in AI or you become an expert in how to use AI in everyday life, women's leadership is trending. How to be a strong female leader. Our Democratic Party nominee is a woman. And so women in leadership is going to be something that's trending for at least the next 3 to 4 months. Something else that's trending is skill-based hiring, workforce development. People are always thinking about how do they have a more effective workforce? How do they reskill their employees? So you have to think about what's trending generally and then how you can have a conversation about that. Let me give you some examples of things that nobody cares about. If you were to tell me, well, Morgan, I'm an incredible baker. I know how to bake the best products. I know how to cook. I will cook the heck out of your kitchen. And I want to be a public speaker. I would say it's a no for me. Like, it's an everyday skill. It's not really transferable into the workforce. And unless you have learned how to cook in a way that is reducing your carbon footprint and invented some sort of technology that everybody could do, I don't care. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean that people will want to pay you to hear you talk about it. Let me give you another example. Let's say you have a really good virtual assistant agency and you have trained thousands of virtual assistants and you have a profitable VA company and you want to talk about that. That is kind of interesting because there is a small group of people who might want to duplicate what you do, but it is too specific. So instead of it being about a virtual assistant agency and training people on how to do it, what you could change that into, which is how to leverage my skill set and build an agency, how anyone can learn how to build an agency, or how to work effectively with virtual assistants, regardless of the business that you work with. So extrapolating whatever your niche is and trying to make it broader appeal, particularly in the workplace at a corporation or to a person in the marketplace is helpful. One of the things that I'm mentioning implicitly that I'm going to say explicitly now is that you have to think about who's paying you to be a public speaker. And the people who are paying you the most often to be a public speaker are corporations. The second category is universities. So if you are building out your vision for how you want to make money as a public speaker, I recommend keeping in mind a customer that is either a employee at a big corporation. I'm talking Oracle, I'm talking Intel, I'm talking big companies. I'm not talking sexy young companies. I'm not talking the Gustos, the Shopify's, the Squarespaces. I'm talking companies that have 50,000 plus employees that need constant inspiration. If you work at Shopify, you don't need inspiration. You work at Shopify, it's so cool. So they don't need to hire people to inspire you. So you're going to typically be going to other types of companies that have more monotonous, less trendy company culture brands. And that's why they bring people in, or universities. Universities have huge budgets for public speaking, and they tend to have different ranges of those budgets. Some are based on undergraduate budgets, and the student government allocates them. Some of them are continued education, and the entire university will chip in to pay for those big speakers that come in. There's a variety of different ways that you can go into collegiate campus speaking. And in that case, you want to really be thinking from a intellectual perspective and also how this will impact students and people who are in a space of learning for their current time frame that they're in school. With those two categories in mind, the third category, which is incredibly risky, so I do not recommend, which is you could try to do public speaking in a virtual format online to just consumers. So you might have like webinars that you do and you charge for those. But that kind of gets into like the online learning course world, and we're not talking about that today. So let's talk about pricing. How much can you charge to speak? I have seen everything from zero to I think the most I've seen for someone charging just to speak was like $300,000 plus private jet credit, plus a rider, plus a security detail. When I say a rider, I mean they give us a list of all the things that they need in their green room. So their food that they need, their drinks that they need, their weird stuff that they would need in their green room. Obviously, we did not go with that person, but I have seen a wide range because at Afrotech, we do a split model. So 50% of our speakers come from our community and their submissions, where we have a mandate to ensure that everyday Afrotechie could achieve the goal of being a speaker at Afrotech so that they can get that experience. And also our community can learn from people who are just like them. And then the other category are invited speakers that are tied to their unique skill set if they're highly technical. So these are deep tech people who you would not necessarily see them posting on LinkedIn about their thought leadership. Like they are doing the damn thing, right? And we do invitations with them. And typically this is in partnership with our partners and our clients. And then we have another category, which is very small, but these are the people we pay to speak. And that category is typically people who have a unique reach that we want to make sure is included in the conference, or they have such a unique skill set or really cool technology that we're like, okay, this is worth paying for. And we know that we have to incur some costs in order to get them there. So like they are doing some crazy demo of some robot or whatever, like, okay, we get it. We got to pay. Because of that, I see all of the ranges of speaking fees. And then that has also helped me see, wow, someone who I would not have thought is out here in the market making this kind of money must be out here in this market making this kind of money because they just charged us 50K. And we said, well, we did not have 50K allocated for you. We had 10K allocated for you. And we are so far apart that we respectfully say, congratulations, and we are out of this negotiation. So what drives value in the marketplace? The things that I see often the most that drive value are one, like I said, ability to sell tickets. Two is uniqueness. How unique is that person? Are they a one of one? Like a Simone Biles, one of one. She can demand a high premium. The next one would be trending. Club Shay Shay dude, Shannon Sharp. He could charge a lot of money because he's trending. Okay. We had Corporate Erin on the podcast. You know, she could charge a lot of money because she's trending. I think that for you, my dear listener, you're not going to fall in that category. I love you, but you're not going to fall in that category, most likely. Some of you will, but a lot of you aren't. So that's not what we're aiming for. We're not aiming for $200,000, $100,000, or even $50,000. We're aiming for 3 to 7.5, I would say 3,000 to 7,500. That's like your range. In order to be able to get that type of range, you need to probably be developing a workshop. You're not going to get it as a panelist. You're probably not popping enough yet to be a fireside chat. So it's probably a workshop or a keynote, but I would say start with a workshop. What can you teach and have enough proof that is so good that it's like, you know what? I'm willing to put $2,500 behind this. I'm willing to put $5,000 behind this because I think my community will get 10x back in return. So let's take Afrotech for an example. Listen, I'm going to give you guys these examples, but do not come in my comments being like, I am ready. Please, can you hire me? First of all, no. Afrotech scheduling and programming is done. Thank you. We run it. Come back in January. Okay. But I'm going to give you Afrotech an example because I know most of you don't know what Afrotech is. And so it's easier. So if you were to say, hey, I am going to do a workshop that by the end of the workshop, everyone is going to have built their own AI bot. And it is a 2-hour workshop. And I'm going to bring all of the materials. They will have worksheets. I have a pre-downloaded website that everyone will have access to. And I have a partnership with Gemini where we have credits that we can use for this. And they, by the end of those 2 hours, will have an AI bot that is in their voice and their tone, and they can use that every single day after this conference. I would say, give me a price. That's interesting. That's unique. And it's a value exchange that I know will go so far with the Afrotech community that I would probably be willing to pay for that. Now, actually, honestly, if you do have that service and ability, like actually you might actually be able to hit me up because that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. I'm not looking for someone to come and pitch me and be like, hey, I can do a resume workshop. Yeah, you and every other underpaid recruiter that's been laid off in the last 3 years. Like, that's not it. Let me give you another example of something that people do often that I'm just like, why are you trying to pitch this value exchange here? Someone will say, well, I am a DE&I trained person. And so I want to do a DE&I workshop on how to encourage and influence DE&I within the company. Well, I'm sorry. This is already an audience that's filled with people who are already diverse and most likely know how to do that. And there's 50 people probably in one room that could do that exact training that you're doing at Afrotech. Now, if they're in the world, there might be the same 50, but in that Afrotech room, we have a densely populated group of people who already have that skill set, and therefore that doesn't make you unique in that room. Now, you could pitch that exact same workshop at a general tech conference that's not for diverse folks, and they might say yes because they don't have 50 other people in that room that have that skill set. So you have to consider where you're pitching and if there's an actual market for it and if the people buying what you're selling. That is really the true amount of work that you have to do if you want to make money in this space as a public speaker. You have to have that level of drive, not driving your ego and genuinely saying, am I unique enough with what I know how to teach and what I know how to talk about in order to demand a price that feels good to me? The other thing that I see people do often, and I think it's a mistake because you guys know how much I value time, is that they are willing to speak for a very low price, $500, $1,000. Here's the thing. If you're covering your own costs, do not go in the red for an opportunity. So if you have to travel and spend 2 days to get there and they're only paying you $500 and they're not covering your travel fees, to me, that would be a no. I would be willing to say yes to something if it's like, okay, you're going to cover my travel and you're going to cover all my expenses on site. I would be more likely to speak for free than to go in the red for a very low quote unquote honorarium that doesn't actually cover my expenses. So be mindful of also just wasting your time. There are times where it makes sense to exchange your time for value. To me, how I tend to evaluate those opportunities, because I do that too, where I will speak for a very low cost or free. Sometimes I'm like, keep your 5K, just I'm coming, but don't even worry about it. Like, don't worry about scrapping it together. It's okay. I'm coming. But I'll do that because there's something that I'm trying to expand for myself and my audience. So let's say I'm working on growing my audience with young high school girls in the South. So I might say yes to a boys and girls club in the South that has a huge reach. It's going to be streamed online and all of these things, even though they're not paying me, because it matches with my business strategy. It matches with my brand strategy. Same thing with like a college. Once you get on the college circuit, sometimes if you get one or two, then people see you and you're building your portfolio. So just make sure that if you're going to speak for low or free, that you're considering what else they can offer you. They can promote you and grow your audience. if you're able to throw a link up on the screen, if you're able to throw a video before you walk out on stage, if you're able to get an exchange in tickets. I remember one conference, we were so broke at the time. And I was like, ma'am, you're not paying me. I got to incur this cost, which means it's a business expense. I need like 3 or 4 tickets so that my employees can come so they can learn from this conference. So sometimes I'll speak at a conference because our employees want to go because we couldn't afford to do L&D credits and pay for their tickets. And those tickets were running for $3,000 or $4,000 a pop. So I said, okay, I'll go, but I'm bringing people with me along the way. So think about how to evaluate other experiences or speaking opportunities and how that can help you in your business plan. And also, one of your criteria should always be impact. It should be how many people am I reaching and what is the impact of those people, the quality of those people. Sometimes I'll say yes to a speaking engagement that's only 30 people, but these are all C-level executives. So the impact for Afrotech or Blavity from a brand perspective is huge. If I'm in a room full of CMOs, I'd pay you $50K for me to be in that room, okay? Because that's going to help me and my business accelerate faster. So always make that consideration as well. Let's talk about agents and people and how to get these deals. So there's a few different layers of how the speaker world works. I'm going to start from top to bottom. At the top of the top is a speaker's agent. Your speaker's agent is typically a person or an agency that specializes in your category or is a general agency and they have hundreds of clients. And they are the person negotiating on your behalf. They are bringing you deals, and any deals that are inbounded to you are also then sent to the agency. So if somebody hits me up today and says, hey, Morgan, I want you to speak at my conference, et cetera, I say, amazing, that's great. Please talk to Harry Walker because that's my speaker's bureau. That's my agent. So you've got your CAAs, your WMEs, all your agencies. We could do a whole other episode about agencies another day. And they take a percent of your speaker fees in exchange for negotiating the deal. So you might ask me, Morgan, why would I want to give someone money for that? Well, here's the thing. You're almost always going to make more money with somebody negotiating on your behalf than you are doing it for yourself. And so if you can't afford to have somebody in your internal team doing it for you, having a speaker's agent can be a way to, for the exact same performance or exact same workshop or exact same panel, making more money. Now, you do need to be a big dog to do this to some extent. If you only have 5,000 followers, you're not unique, and you have a speaker's agent, people might say, you're not even worth, I'm not even going back and forth with this agent to talk to you. Like, no. So be careful with the agents because sometimes if they're bad, they can also lose you money and opportunities. The next category down is that you have somebody who works for you, contracted, or a freelancer who negotiates on your behalf. This to me is the smartest thing to do. Have a virtual assistant who is your name, speaking at yourname.com, and that person negotiates on your behalf. Or you can have it your mom, your dad, your boyfriend, whatever, somebody else. Get somebody else to do it. That's going to help you, again, get the same benefit of an agent. They might not be able to know exactly what the market would demand for you, but they are going to be able to say, well, what's the base level price and can they get it up? And last but not least, you can always fake it till you make it, which is that you create a dummy email and it's still you and you just do not get on that phone and you only email back and forth and you're still so-and-so's assistant at so-and-so, but it's actually secretly you. It works, friends. It works. When you are looking to be a speaker, you can make a few assets that might help you close faster. A speaker reel, which would be examples of you speaking before. If you don't have a speaker reel, you can make one quickly on Upwork, get a video editor, put it together. If you haven't spoken before and you want to get started, you can just record yourself speaking as a way for people to understand your personality and get that edited together. Or if you do social clips or things as you talk on TikTok, you talk on LinkedIn, you can piecemeal things together, especially if you have social proof like press. You can add your logos and things like that. You probably want a website if you don't have a website. And then typically people ask me for the types of topics I like to speak on. So I also have like 4 or 5 descriptions of topics that I like to speak on. And then as my portfolio grows in each topic, then we also include the backlinks to those things on YouTube or wherever they're posted for them to watch. So that's how I would recommend packaging yourself in this marketplace and speakers so that you appear to be more professional, which will ultimately help you demand a higher price. For anyone who's listening in who's like, okay, this sounds good, but maybe you feel like you're not quite there. I want to tell you about a girl who used to stutter. She was so uncomfortable that she used to pit through her shirt and stutter her life away when she would be doing public speaking, even public speaking down to like in high school. When she was reading out loud in class, she would stutter because she was so nervous. That girl went on to be freshman class president with her stutter, and then student body president as a sophomore, managing a budget over like 1.5 million. If you go back and look at those videos, which I really please you don't actually do that. Matter of fact, let me get that video taken down before this episode goes out. But if you knew me back then, you would say, Morgan's really smart, but she does not have the charisma. Okay. Charisma in public speaking is something that can be learned. You can take improv classes to get better at thinking on your feet. You can learn how to slow down. You can learn how to change your tone. Being a professional speaker is absolutely a skill that each and every single one of you can learn how to do better. But you have to make an effort to do so. You have to prioritize being a better speaker by typically practice. There were times in my career when I would write everything out and I would record myself saying it back. And then I would watch it. I would watch it. I would watch my hand motions. I would watch my fidgeting. I would watch every single thing. And then I would do it again. And there were times when I would memorize what I was going to say, particularly when I was fundraising, because you can't come off nervous. You can't come off funky. I remember there was a time this was back when I worked at Intuit, you guys. I was doing a performance review and someone was reviewing me and she said, your voice cracks a lot. This was a senior leader. She was a senior director of PM in the payroll division. She said, you're so smart, but your voice cracks all the time. You got to work on that. And she was like one of the first people who was like, no, girl, you still have a long way to go in terms of presence. And I was grateful for that feedback because it gave me another thing to work on. My voice was cracking because I was nervous, because I had anxiety, because I was overthinking everything. All that is to say, you can go from being someone who has nervous energy, a stutter. I had a lot of things against me, my friends. I'm 4'11". I've told you guys this before, but I'm 4'11". So walking on stage, I used to have to bring a step stool with me as student body president when I would do different talks on campus because podiums are so high and I would look nuts. You wouldn't even be able to see me. So I had to bring a step stool. Do what you got to do. Okay. Do what you have to do to be best in your trade craft. And if you're going to consider it actually a skill that you can get better at and make a commitment to getting better at it. If you want to demand 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K, you need to be very good at it. So that's my 2 cents. I hope this was helpful for you. If you liked this episode, let me know in the comments below and also make sure you are subscribing. I'm going to send out some more tips in my newsletter for this episode. So different speaker bureaus that you guys can check out. So if you're not on my weekly newsletter, please make sure you sign up on morgandebaun.com. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Journey Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review and head to our Instagram and YouTube to leave a comment. I look forward to hearing how this podcast has made an impact on your own journey.